Welcome to this session of Groundbreakers Live. I'm your host, Javed Mohammed, Community Manager at Oracle, and I'm very honored to have with us Venkat Subramaniam. Venkat, welcome.
Javed, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I couldn't be happier seeing you, even though remotely this time. Last few times I've seen you in person, but definitely, nevertheless, pleasure to see you.
And we've got two great views in our background, so it's awesome that we each represent our local areas.
So Venkat, this is a flat iron. Let me kind of do a promotion of that.
Oh, please.
That's a photo that I actually took myself.
Okay.
This one is not far from home. It's one of my favorite photos I've taken, and a beautiful skyline behind that of what we call as colorful Colorado.
Yeah. I cannot make that claim. I did not take this picture, and it's about 50 miles from where we are. But still, it's cool. All right. So Venkat, I thought it'd be great to actually talk about the conference that you actually founded, dev.next. It'll be taking place, if all goes well, in fall this year. Just step back a little bit. Just tell us, how did this conference come about and how long has it been going on?
Yeah, so I started speaking in conferences more than 20 years ago. Wow. And, I speak
in a lot of for that.
Thank you. I speak in a lot of conferences now internationally, and last year I was thinking about where I came from. Today I get invited to speak in conferences. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very humbled for that. But I then sat back and thought about it and said, how was it for me when I started? What are the struggles that I went through to be accepted to speak in conferences? And then I looked around and I see people like me talking in a lot of conferences. And from an audience point of view, that's great because they want experienced speakers deliver topics they are passionate about. But I'm also at the same time deeply concerned about the next generation of speakers. I'm getting older myself. Even though, I've been speaking for 20 years, I doubt I'm going to speak for the next 20 years or 30 years. It's not going to happen. And I'm looking at, what do I want to see in the next generation of speakers? What if really good speakers that we have not explored, speakers like me 20 years ago, who were not known to the world, but have potential? And who are those people today that we have not really come across? And what if we can take those very young and talented speakers and mix them with experienced speakers? What would be the combination? And that's really the motivation for me to create this conference, is an equal opportunity for both experienced and novice speakers to come in and speak at the conference. And I want to emphasize one thing that I wanted to really say. I didn't set out with a quota. That's not what I am. I don't want to say 15%, 20%, 30% will be women or young people or beginning speakers. I'm not into quotas. What I really wanted to do was to create a program committee that would be absolutely open to look at speakers for the merits of the speakers and not the years of experience they carry. And I have to tell you, I had some amazing speakers who have never spoken in conferences, and every one of them submitted videos of either their talks or a promotion of their talks. And I remember one morning, I would never forget this. I was looking at one speaker, and immediately I called my wife, who's also on the program committee, who's an organizer, and I told her, can you take a look at this? And she looks at this person speaking and says, I want that person in our conference. And I said, that's exactly why I wanted you to see this. This person has never spoken in a conference. And she was like, I don't believe so. This is amazing, presentation. I want that person. And that's exactly what I want, is these speakers who are very talented, but have not had the opportunity to mingle and learn from experienced speakers and to provide that diversity of speakers. And when we set out to do this.
Can I just pause you there and just, I'm just kind of curious. I see definitely your energy and enthusiasm come through, and I can see why you're a great. But just from your perspective, I guess there's probably so many facets of being a great speaker. But pick the top three. What would they be?
Oh, yeah. So the first thing about being a really good speaker is not trying to convince the audience that they know the stuff. It is not about the speaker. It is about the audience. And I always say it's the delta that is the most important. So we are here and we want to take the audience to be here. You know, one of the analogies I always use is, imagine that you say you want to come to, spend a week in Colorado, and I promise that I'll take you around. And then you say, great,
I'll take you up on that offer.
Absolutely, I'll be thrilled. But imagine I tell you to come to the airport, and then I go to a different terminal and wait for you. That would be such a mishap, isn't it? This is one of the things that speakers often do, is they don't start where the audience are, they start somewhere else. And to me, the key is the knowledge deltas. So you want to start where the audience are, and you want to walk them through these knowledge delta, and you want to take them to where you want to take them, but in smaller increments. So the whole thing is about really focus on the audience. Is it simple for them versus appearing smarter to them? And that is one thing that I always want to emphasize to speakers is it's not about how good you are, it's about how effective you are for the audience to learn from your experience. That's the first thing. The second thing really is, I'll be honest about it. I go to conferences and I'm speaking about the latest features of Java. And right in the audience in front of me are Brian Getz and Mark Reinhold. These are the people creating Java. What qualification do I have to talk about Java in front of the very people who created it? And that's one of the things I always tell my speakers is, I come to listen to your journey, your experience. And it's not about what's in the book. It's not about what the language is, but tell me what your experience with the language is. And I always tell, don't tell me a tale, but tell me a story. Tell me a story. What did you do with this? How did it work for you or not work for you? What did you learn from that experience? And how can that help the person listening to create their own story, to create their own experience?
Okay, so what I got so far is start where the audience is, tell them a story. What's the third thing?
Yeah, and then of course, you absolutely need to know the stuff. Being a speaker is a combination of two things. You cannot be an effective speaker if you just stand up and tell jokes. People lose interest after a while because there's no stuff. The concept I like to care about is what I call as information density. Information density to me is there is nothing more valuable than somebody's time. So if somebody is sitting in front of me and is listening to my talk, every minute counts. And I want to make sure that I deliver value. The true respect to me is not calling somebody as a sir or a madam. The true respect for me is valuing their time and to value their attention. So to tell them, hey, you're here in front of me, you're giving me an hour of your life. You're giving me 90 minutes of your life. Thank you for doing that. And I'm going to give you what is worth your hour, worth your 90 minutes. And to me, that information density is important, which means I need to prepare. And I prepare like crazy every single day. If I have a talk at 10 a.m., I am sitting and practicing at 4 in the morning because I care about the people that have given me the most precious thing in their life, which is their time and attention. So to me, is delivering the deltas for the audience is extremely important. It's not about the smartness of the speaker, but really caring about making things simple for the audience. That's absolutely important. Tell me a story, not a tale, and then provide the information.
And what's the difference between a story and a tale?
A story is where, I used this on a project. Here's what I ran into, and here's the challenge I faced. Here's how I solved it. A tale is bringing all the unnecessary things, and we lose attention of the person. And then I'm like, gosh, what is this guy ranting about? What is this lady going on talking about for such a long time? The story versus a tale. And we all are impatient. When I listen to somebody, they catch me with an analogy, they catch me with a story, and then they nail it down with a concept. I'm like, wow, that was very useful. Or they go on a rant. They talk about, oh, I came to the airport, I lost my baggage today, I was waiting at the counter. And I'm like, I didn't come here for hearing about your complaints.
Yeah.
I don't want your tale. Tell me how this is going to help me to learn the concept I came here to learn for. Tie this back, ground it down to the concept. That's extremely important. I think that's what I really look for in a good
well, thank you so much for encapsulating that. I did like how you clarified the different concepts. Perhaps if we can just segue into the conference itself. So first of all, so how many years has it been going on, you said?
This is the first year that we are going to.
First year, okay. Because
yes.
it seemed, because when I went there, it was going to be the first, it'll be the first time that I attend. It seems like it's been going on. It looks so mature and everything. It doesn't look like this is the first year. So that's why.
I have to thank three sets of people. The first is the program committee. We had an amazing program committee. When we opened up a call for speakers, I really wanted to make this an open event. When we opened up a call for speakers, I'm humbled, we got 468 proposals.
Wow.
Here I was thinking, I'll get some proposals, we'll make a choice and we are done. No, they wanted us to work on this. And the program committee spent the time evaluating the talks. They rated the talks on a scale of 1 to 10. And I thought to myself, I'll just select, 8s and 9s and be done with it. 8s and 9s were well over 250 talks because they were such wonderful proposals we got. And so the program committee worked really hard in selecting the topics. I really wanted this to be driven by the community. So these were independent people who were running the program committee, their selections made into the final list. Then we had 120 speakers. So that's one thing I'm very proud about. The community support has been amazing. Most of the people have been from user groups. These are leaders of the user groups that are putting their time and effort towards this conference. And we decided to, because we want a diverse set of speakers, first-time speakers, young speakers, speakers who have a full-time job, but speaking is not their main work. Or people like me who are independent. I don't make revenue unless somebody pays me to do my work. And so I said to myself, what if we pay these people to come and speak? What if we pay them for travel? So we made this absolutely open. If anybody wants to be paid, they were paid and they were given the opportunity to come and speak. Their travel was covered. And then third, of course, is the fun part for me was to develop the entire application. I always think about, I'm a programmer. What would I do as a programmer to, give a better experience for both the speakers and the attendees? So I created messaging systems within the application. It turned out to be very useful because we have 120 speakers. And you can imagine what a nightmare it is to manage an email inbox with 120 speakers constantly asking questions and posting back to each other. We have 0 emails in this conference.
Nice.
Everything is managed through a messaging board at the website. I'm very proud of the effort we put in to create all of that. So I'm thankful to hear your words that it looks mature, but it came out of effort from a lot of different people putting the effort to do the right things into this.
Okay, so I'm just kind of curious to hear about your thought process. So thank you for sharing that. So you decided to develop, and I understand that you explained about how you wanted both mature and new and upcoming speakers. So once you decided you're going to make a developers conference, how did you figure out what the theme is? How did you break down the tracks? Just can you share a little bit about that?
So the speakers, once I decided to run the conference, I thought about what kind of things I want in the conference. And I didn't want this to be a conference for one niche area. I wanted this to be really a software development conference. So I asked a few friends around and I said, hey, what do you think the conference should have in it? Clearly we want a language track because programming languages is my personal passion. If anybody has heard me talk about stuff, I usually talk about programming languages. So it was clear that I'm going to have languages track. But at the same time, I didn't want to make it a specific language. I wanted this to evolve based on what the speakers are interested in. And no surprise that most of the talks were related to Java, but there were quite a few other things as well. And then, of course, cloud was something that we really wanted to focus on, microservices, because there's a lot of interest in that area. Architecture and design is a major component. So people ask me, what do you want to focus on? And I said, I want to focus on what's important for any software developer. And so then we asked the question, what's important for a software developer? Languages, cloud, microservices, architecture, testing is important, and machine learning is another area that people are getting excited about. So pretty much by just asking a few group of friends around who are developers and people who are going to be on the program committee as well, and I asked them, what topics do you want to see in the conference? And that's how the topics area really came about. And so the list of topics was really based on the input and the feedback I gathered from, developers, speakers, program committee members. And then once we published that, the talks that came in kind of started falling into these areas. We also had an other area where people have great ideas that don't fit into any of these. We wanted to give an opportunity for that as well. And not so surprisingly, several talks fell into the other area as well. We moved a few things around.
And I know you had quite a few like technical presentations yourself, from Kotlin to JavaScript to micro. Now, I'm just kind of curious, was your leadership by example? Was that something that falls in the other?
I'll tell you how humbled I am about this. We all live in a society today where, every one of us has a part of us that is excited about things, a part of us that is, complaining every day. We all can step back and ask how many times we complain. I complain the minute I wake up in the morning, my legs are hurting or something is not in the right place. And then I looked around and I see true leaders around us. And I looked around and I said, who do I want in this conference, not to talk about leadership, but who are truly leaders who talk about their journey. And I found two people that I deeply respect. And the first is Dmitry Alexandrov. He is somebody that has been a good friend for several years. And he is the leader of the Bulgarian Java user group. And Dmitry is an amazing human being. I've enjoyed every interaction with him. And Dmitry, I've never heard a single time, honestly, in all these years, a single time when he complains about his inability to move around easily. We take a lot of things granted. But here is a person who is on a wheelchair, travels around the world, speaks in conferences, runs successful conferences on his own, and a user group with other people. This is leadership by example.
Wow.
And I asked him, would you please come and speak in this conference? And I'm very humbled and honored that he accepted.
Great.
The next person is Lucy Greco. She has been a promoter of accessibility. And as a person who is blind, she has been working so hard to make applications accessible for various different people. And it was an humbling experience for me to learn from her. I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination, but she already has patiently helped me to make the website for the conference accessible. And there could be no better experience than having somebody like her constantly tell me how I need to improve. And then I asked her if she would come and be part of this keynote to talk about her journey and her experience. So the leadership by example keynote is really from people who are not talking about how to be a leader, but people who have been quietly being a leader,
Awesome.
and people that we can learn a great deal from. After, seeing people like them, I complain a lot less these days. I focus more on delivering value and changing things quietly around me, because it's easy to complain. It's easy to say negative things. But for people who don't have the things that we take for granted, for them to patiently change the world around us is true leadership, in my opinion. And it's absolutely humbling for me to see them. And I'm honored that they were willing to come and speak, and they'll be delivering that keynote on leadership in the conference.
Awesome. Well, Venkat, it's always a pleasure meeting you, both in person as well as virtually via this one. It sounds like it's going to be a great conference, and I look forward to participating in the fall.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you here, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.